Hello there, everybody. Welcome to this latest installment, as I adjust my microphone a couple of moments too late, of the FHM 7 Birth of the Bolt series, and somehow I got through that without over stumbling my words. It's part 15. Today we're doing the last 5 games of the 1993-94 regular season. We're already at April 6 in terms of the time frame of when we start this last 5 games of the season. We're not going to make the playoffs with 71 points and with Buffalo at 83, but we could get a little higher in the conference and probably get past the Islanders or the Flyers in these next 5 games. We're going to come back next week. We're going to try to do next week is play out the Stanley Cup of 1994 as FHM 7 would have it, because every time I try to show you the elimination games of the series, something always goes wrong, and that goes back to when I was doing FHM 6. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to play that series out start to finish. And for now, I should note that we went 6-5-1 for March in total. We'll show you what happened in the games that since the Hartford win 5-4, which was our last game that we showed you last week. We beat Philadelphia 4-2, then losses to Calgary 6-5. Then we came back, beat Edmonton 4-2. Lost to the Caps 5-4, a 3-3 tie with the Islanders, a 4-1 loss to the Devils, 3-1 over the now Dallas Stars, who played the previous year in Minnesota, and a 4-4 tie with Buffalo. Then we've already played games in April because we're playing out the last games of the regular season here. 7-3 loss to St. Louis, a 3-2 win at Pittsburgh, and now we are about to play Montreal. Brian Bradley leading the way in all the offensive categories, 23 goals, 42 assists, 65 points. We are 21st in goals scored, but I'm not sorry. Yes, we're tied for 5th in goals against with 234. We have only scored 215 all year. So we're going to go through and we're going to play these last 5 games, as I've already mentioned, of the 93-94 season. We will not make the playoffs, but this is a marked improvement as we play Montreal at the Thunderdome, I think. No, it's at Montreal, I'm sorry. Ron Tugnut, Patrick Waugh, the goalkeepers, and we just skunked on February 17th, Montreal 6-0 at the Dome. So we'll try to see what happens here. Brian Bradley and Mike Keane, the star player for Montreal, 8 goals, 32 assists. Let's drop the puck and let's go. And speaking of hockey, let's wish, as I record this, it is April 15. Not April 15th. No, that was a few days ago. April 19, 2021. So a very happiest of birthdays to Dave Gardner over at the Digital to Dice podcast. Denis Savard, goaltender interference, and the Lightning quickly go on a power play. Their power play has now improved to 14%. A couple of years ago, he started the Digital to Dice podcast along with Ron Juckett. And with the coronavirus happening, it has kind of been food for thought for many of us who do this little sports, board gaming, computer gaming hobby of ours. So a very happy birthday to him. I won't ask his age, and I was just on with him. And this leads us to another note for you all, as I have just done a couple of shows with Al Red Sox fan. Friday we had Tom Vogel of Wrestling's Finest on, and on Saturday night, and Tampa Bay gets the first goal. Konstantin AstraZeneca assisted by Bradley, so Bradley picks up another point. It's 1-0. It's 7-2 on shots in favor of the Bolts right now. On Saturday night, Dave was a guest along with myself, and we just did general discussions. Al did a very interesting pieces of conversation about Godzilla and King Kong, which I didn't know anything about. But there are some things about pop culture that I don't know. If you hit me with a 2x4 with a nail in the middle. Joe Rickey gets called for roughing, and the Bolts now are shorthanded. They lead in shots 8-3. In real life, they play the Florida Panthers tonight, the first of 2 games back-to-back. As this bizarre 2021 NHL season rolls along, this is usually about the time of year they start with their playoffs, but because they got so far behind in the 1920 season, they are just playing all the games in 2021. All the games are against one of 7 teams, that haven't played anybody outside the division, and they set it up this way. So the playoffs of the NHL are going to be interesting, just because they have been separated. And for instance, all the teams in Canada have been playing each other all season long, or all the teams in the East have been playing each other all season long. So a little struggle to see who gets the next goal. Will it be the Canadians, who are going to the playoffs in this sim? And no, it's the Lightning. It is Roman Hammerlick, Hammer Time, Sommer, and Bergevin on the assist, 2-0. They played in game time. They played about a month and a half ago, and the Lightning blitzed them 6-0. Can the Canadians come right back and get a goal? They do. John Leclerc, assisted by LeBeau and Vask, and it's 2-1. So this April 19, not a lot going on in the sports world, except first let's get this goal out of the way before I give you some side items here. And the Lightning get the goal back. It is Richard Crom, assisted by Varitsky and Johnson, and it's 3-1 in favor of Tampa Bay. Late in the first period, game number 80 of this 84-game season. We'll play out the Stanley Cup next week if you're just tuning in. And Brian Bradley booked for the goaltender interference. And then in 2 weeks, we will start 94 and 95. See if the Lightning can make it to the playoffs for the first time within 4 years, as was actually the case in real life. And the Lightning lead 3-1 at the end of the first period, and shots were 14-10. The Yankees right now have the worst record in the American League. First time that's happened since 1983. Gilbert Dion called for tripping. Lightning go on a power play again. If your phones are a little less busy with junk mail calls, like for instance I haven't gotten such a call since the 16th of April, there may be a reason for that, as COVID has gripped India, and we wish them all the best. They're having all kinds of COVID problems in India. I stick against Mike Hartman, so that's probably why, if you haven't gotten a car warranty call the last couple of days, that's probably why. Because that's probably where they all come from. So we'll see who gets the next goal here. And it's the Canadians, and the Habs cut it to 3-2. Peter Bondra on that goal. And if you are watching this on April 19th, Big Paulie's Fight Night tomorrow night, Grand Slam Wrestling on the 21st, a Wednesday, OOTP on the 22nd, and we might be doing some more Grand Slam Wrestling on the 23rd. That's the schedule for this week, or so it's looking right now. Shots are 19-17 in favor of Montreal. Stuart Sink just won the golf tournament at Hilton Head the week after the Masters and the great win by Hideki Matsuyama. It was, let's see what else going on. Jonas Bergquist, delay of game. Trying to think of what else is going on in the sports world. The NFL draft nearly here. A lot of talk about what teams are going to do with their first round picks. Will the 49ers successfully get Mac Jones? Among other things. And the Canadians have tied it. The Habs, Kurt Muller, makes it a 3-3 game. The way this is going, no lead is going to be safe if it stays this close. And here are the Lightning with it. Can they take the lead back? And the answer is Looking like it's going to be no, and I am correct. Schneider, assisted by Bondra and Leclerc, 4-3. In favor of the Canadians. We'll be back next Monday for the entire 1994 Stanley Cup. If it goes 4 games, if it goes 7 games, of course in real life, Rangers beat Vancouver. So we'll see what happens in the simulated Stanley Cup of 1994 next week, and we'll do all 7 games. Which shouldn't be too big of a stretch because I usually do 5 a week doing FHM. I think I could handle it. It's just sometimes the automation gets ahead. When you set the game on automated and it plays out the game, sometimes it gets a little beyond my human control. End of the second period, and it's 4-3. Montreal making a nice comeback, and they'll take the lead going into the last 20 minutes. We have 4 games to go after this, and regardless of how long the games take, we will get them all in today. But this doing these FHM 7 games just gives me time to talk to you all and run through my material. The Lightning went 6-5-1 in March of 1994. Kirk Muller roughing. And the Lightning, who have had an improved power play as of late, they're at 14%. I did not catch their penalty killing capabilities. But they should be good because considering they have given up, they were tied for 5th coming in terms of goals surrendered. So kind of like the Bucks when they first got started in 76-77. They're good on defense first, and then the offense kind of catches up. Which to me is a good way to run any sports team. You want your defense in baseball. You want your pitching to be there first. Mike Keane for hooking, and again the Lightning, who have had one of their penalties killed off, looking for that equalizer, and they get it. Doug Crossman, assisted by Bradley and AstraZeneca. But this isn't a real simulation. Most of the players that were on the 94 Canadians are there, but with every draft and with every trade, there are little changes in the history and the hierarchy. Leclerc, a penalty, and now the Lightning with a chance to take the lead on this power play. Shots are 32-31 right now. But I'm going to make it a point to try to do all the Stanley Cup games. I don't know how successful I will be. Stanley Cup Finals games for the 1994 season. Four minutes to go. Third period, we play this is back in the era where they played a 5-minute overtime, and we have Doug Crossman with an abdominal strain. He is, I guess he's going to be out the rest of the game. Lightning leading on shots, 37-33. Interference against Joe Rickey. The penalty killing on the Lightning right now, 82%. And the Caps are going to take advantage of it here. Not the Caps, but the Canadians. I kind of keep calling them the Capitals. And there it is, a goal, which could be the decider. Leclerc, who has had a big night. Bondra and Eric Desjardins. See, I knew how to say Desjardins because I watched Dave Gardner's videos. Now, either the Canadians will extend their lead or the Lightning will tie it, and the latter did not happen. Lebeau, assisted by Brisebois and Gilbert Dion, and it's 6-4. Talk about a game that got away in a hurry, and there's another goal. Peter Bondra, Schneider, and Savard, 7-4. Seems like a moment ago it was 4-4, and now it is 7-4. Last minute of the game, and that's how this is going to go in the books. The Habs winning 7-4 on a fusillade of last-minute goals. Usually Montreal has Tampa Bay's number, with the exception of that 6-0 drubbing Tampa Bay put on them. Let's see. Let's check the goals in the third period here. And they got 3 goals in 48 seconds, and they got the last 2 goals in 4 seconds. 4 seconds apart. So Montreal put on the afterburners real quick, and the Lightning showing why they're not a playoff team yet with the 7-4 defeat. Now let's check the news and get our next game set up in Boston. Joe Murphy extending his goal streak to 7. He's with the Edmonton Oilers in this sim. Maybe he was in real life. Dominic Nova, suspended. Funny how they don't tell you how he got suspended. What did he do? Joe Sakic day to day. He's with the Quebec Nordiques. Marty McSorley had a suspension, which has now been served, unlike Pete Rose's suspension, which lasts forever. Pavel Bure extended his goal streak to 5 games in a recent Vancouver outing against the San Jose Sharks, who came in the league the season before Tampa Bay and Ottawa did. And finally, Russ Courtnall with a big game, 3 goals, 1 assist. The Stars beating the Islanders 5-2, which brings us to the Boston Garden. Lightning and the Boston Bruins. Tugnut in goal against Andy Moog, M-O-O-G. And they're both red-hot goalies right now. Moog with the better save percentage at .910. Bork, the player to watch for the Boston Bruins, 26 goals, a whopping 60 assists for 86 points, and his plus-minus is to the moon at 26. So off we go. Boston won the last meeting, a 2-1 verdict. The verdict before that was a 4-4 tie. So off to the Boston Garden. Park your car in Harvard Yard. And we are underway with this second game, and we will play all the games out for the remainder of the regular season for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Throw some more news items at you while we wait for the first goal. The Tampa Bay Rays making noise about moving to Montreal, as they have been now for the past year or so, and trying to figure out the future of the last dome stadium in Major League Baseball, Tropicana Field, and what to do with that when the lease expires, which it will in a few seasons. Under 12 to go, 3-1 in shots, Boston ahead, but not on the scoreboard as of yet. Of course, Tampa, if the Rays move to Montreal, or if they split home games and play part of it in Tampa and part of it in Montreal, got to keep in mind, as we have a tripping against Adam Creighton in Boston with a lethal power play at 23%. You got to keep in mind the fans really didn't come out for the Montreal Expos, so what assurances do the Rays have if they play half their season in Montreal that the fans will be there for them, unlike what's happened in St. Petersburg, even with the COVID going on and the limitations in attendance to about 9,000 or so. The Rays are not drawing. They're probably drawing 3,000-4,000 a game. But 4,000 a game. But Dunedin has been used for the Toronto Blue Jays home, and if you want a ticket to a Blue Jays game in Dunedin, you got to shell out $66 at the very least. So there's also the fact that, they have competition right now in Toronto, but they're going to eventually play the rest of their regular season games in Buffalo, New York, like they did last year. The problem with the Tampa Bay Rays, and this ties in too to the Lightning, as we were scoreless in the first period, 7-2 on shots for Boston ahead, is that where they put the dome, Tropicana Field, it's not a very good place in St. Petersburg, or at least that's how it started. And the Bolts get the first goal. Brian Bradley, DeMaio, and Anderson assisting, and it's 1-0 very early in the third period. It's not very highway accessible if you live in some parts of the Tampa-St. Petersburg area, But if you live close to one of the many highways, and you wouldn't mind going to the game, but the problem with the transportation grid here in metropolitan Tampa St. Pete, if you live in northern Pinellas County or along US 19, which is the big north-south corridor in Tampa, if you're living in Pinellas County and you want to get points north and you don't want to get on the highway, or you want to get someplace close to the coast, like say eastern Pasco, western Pasco, western Hernando, western Citrus, it's not very accessible. And Ray Bork scores, and we're tied at a goal each. The way the grid is set up, there is an expressway section in Pinellas County of US 19. So if you're living in, say, Palm Harbor or Dunedin or Clearwater or Largo or Pinellas Park, where I live, it's not too bad, but the Lightning would eventually move to what they now call the Amalie Arena, which was once the St. Pete Times Forum and was once just called the Ice Palace, and that's a central location in Tampa, and that's something, because of the way the highways are set up here, everybody could access. But where the Tropicana Field stadium is, it's not easy in, easy out. So I'll be curious to see what they do with Tropicana Field and the future of the Rays. And I'm already convinced they might move out of Tampa Bay. But when you don't have a good foundation laid as to where to play, things just fall downhill from there. If that's why the Bucks play at Raymond James Stadium, and that's like just a little east of Tampa's airport. Into the second period, we're at a goal each. Tampa Bay much better on shots, 14-12 after 2. But the Rays, God bless them, they've been to 2 World Series now, despite all the problems that they have been having at the gate. And let's see who gets this next goal. One team will have a 2-1 lead, and that team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, as Zomner, assisted by Ricky and Bergquist. The Lightning got their arena. The Bucks have always had a place to stay just east of the airport. They played at the old Sombrero, the Tampa Stadium. And then they built a stadium for the next generation in the late 90s just next to it. It has always been called Raymond James Stadium. Just a lot nicer facility than Tampa Stadium was, because Tampa Stadium, for many years, if you went to a Bucks game, they really didn't have amenities. They had these aluminum seats, and if you went to a 1 o'clock NFL game, you roasted. And you better have sunscreen on, because you sit in the sun for 3 hours, it does not do wonderful things to your body. And I could tell you from going to the stadium when I was a kid, and then later in my early adult life, as Glenn Murray got called for tripping. So it should be a 5-on-3. It is for Tampa Bay, but Steve Hines called for charging. It's a very crowded penalty box right now for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay should have a big advantage. Boston racking up penalty after penalty now, 4. So, pretty good situation for Tampa Bay to be in this game. So there's the brief history of Tampa Bay sports for you, if you were ever wondering. 8 minutes to go. Some shout-outs to Al Red Sox fan, of course. To Brendan Baker, who is acquiring about wrestling's finest today, and I appreciate that. Luke Brown, how you doing, bud? Dave Gardner, happy birthday. Yeah, we picked up a few new subscribers, by the way. I think we're well over 110 by now on the subscriber shift after a couple of guest appearances on Al Red Sox Fans Chat with Al. So thank you very much for that, Al. I think it'll help the channel out immensely. Tampa Bay pulling away on shots. Now, you got a situation here. The next goal is crucial. If Tampa Bay gets it, they should win. If Boston gets it, we might be going to the old OT. And Lightning controlling it. Did they get that goal? Did they get that goal? Will somebody get a goal? Tune in next week. I feel like Bob Barker here. And there it is, the Lightning with a 3-1 lead. Jonas Bergquist assisted by Veritsky. And on to the third. Through the third. Now, will the Bruins pull their goalie? I don't think they would pull it down 2. They do. And the Lightning get a scoring chance. Icing on the cake. Hammerlick assisted by Hodge and Veritsky on the empty netter, 4-1. And that does it. Nice win, solid win for Tampa Bay. And I'm going to be very interested to see how 94 and 95 plays out for the Lightning with that 4-1 win. And in the 4 games they played against each other in 93-94, Tampa Bay did not do too badly. They won 2, they lost 1, and tied 1. So outstanding work, guys. We'll check the news again before setting up the next game, which will be in Hartford, Brass Bonanza country. A strong night for Ray Shepard of the Detroit Red Wings. 4 goals and 1 assist. Wow, he had a big night. Steve Yzerman in that same game, 8-3 win over Calgary. 1 goal and 5 assists. That's a big night for him. Gilbert Dion, who we just saw in that first game, he has been injured for 5 months. Peter Nedved had another big game, 3 goals, no assists. Hat trick for Vancouver, 6-2 over the first-year Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. And Sergei Petrenko, was suspended for some unknown reason. Maybe he peed in somebody's cornflakes. I don't know. So off to Hartford and the Hartford Civic Center for this game between the Lightning and the Whalers. If I play that, I probably would get punished by YouTube for breaking their little pact with BMI and ASCAP, although they allow people to play that song on YouTube. But if we play it, we're the bad guys. John Casey against Sean Burke. Pat Verbeek, the star player for Hartford at the moment, 25 goals, 38 assists, 63 points. It is game number 82 of the regular season for the Bolts, and we'll drop the puck and go. This is before, of course, Hartford moved to Carolina and became the Hurricanes. Of course, if Carolina does get their fair share of hurricanes during hurricane season, which will be coming up in the next month and a half as I record this. Tripping against Mark Janssens, and the Lightning with their 14% power play go to work. I don't know why you would call a team a Hurricanes. You'd think in this day and age, we had Verbeek and Hartman get into a little fisticuffery. So they will each sit 5 minutes. At least. And let's see, do the Lightning get a goal? They do! AstraZeneca again. Veritsky and Hammerlick on the assist. 1-0. Interference against Ken Hodge. So Hartford back on the power play. Or on the power play for the first time, I think. that 2-minute penalty that they have. I think that's from the fight that Hartman and Verbeek just had. Casey is cold in goal, but they both have the 1-0 lead. John Cullen, high sticking. Don't think he was related to the game show host Bill Cullen, who died a few years before this season. Do you think he died 1990? Read his autobiography. It was pretty good. Hooking against Pat Verbeek. Verbeek cannot stay out of the penalty box, and you wonder why they're trailing. 8 minutes left, first period. A 1-0 Lightning lead as the Bolts trying to end their regular season strong. They will not be going to the playoffs. Ken Hodge, delay of game. So Hartford now will get a power play right now, in fact. So say it was delayed, but delay is now over with. 6 minutes left. First period of our third of 5 games we're going to have for you in this stream that you are watching right now. Wishing you well, regardless of when you see the screen. And Hartford has tied it. Patrick Poulin, assisted by Adam Burt. And it's 1-1. Oh, we had a penalty. Ken Hodge again. Sometimes I'm just doing other things and I'm not realizing that penalties have been called, and I should be paying a little more attention. A goal each, 14 shots to 8. And that's how the first period ends, a 1-1 tie. Also want to say hello to Dave Little. Dropped by the chats I was doing with Val over the weekend. I have a lot of respect for him and what he does with his channel. ID Gesture dropped by at least one of the chats that I'm thinking of. He has a good wargaming channel, ID does, and he also does a little sports on the side. But I get the correlation too between sporting games and war games. Cross-checking, Mike Hartman. So Hartford will go on the power play, but Tampa Bay, good penalty killers at 81% right now. Shots are still 14-12 midway through this second period. Midway through the second. Very quiet game here at the Hartford Civic Center. The insurance capital of the world, as Vince McMahon would say on occasion. Hartford, Connecticut. Mac Rookie called for tripping. Somebody will tell me how to pronounce that name. Mark Bureau cross-checking, so the penalty's mounting up. And Hartford with a 5-on-3 now here, and then a delayed 5-on-4. Holding, Mike Hartman. So Hartford again on the power play. Nice game we got going, 1-1. Zarly Salapsky. That's a name I'd recall anywhere. He gets booked for a minor. It's been kind of a gritty game so far. Few penalties, and we are 1-1 going to the third with Tampa Bay with the 18-15 shot lead. So we'll work through the third period of this, the next to last game this year for the Lightning. It's been raining here in Tampa Bay most of the day, tripping John Cullen as a cold front cannot decide what it's going to do. We'll see who gets the next goal here. Could go either way. And it goes the Lightning's way. Brian Bradley assisted by Hammerlick and AstraZeneca again. And it's 2-1, Tampa Bay leading. Can the Whalers equalize, or will the Lightning go up too? It's looking like the Lightning... No. Hartford has it back. And yes, we have a tie game again. Patrick Poulin assisted by Zarli Salapsky. 2-2. Third period. Still plenty of time left as we were over 13 minutes when the goal scored. Shots are 24-20 in favor of the Lightning. And Roman Hammerlick does not aid Tampa's cause with a holding penalty, so Hartford goes 5-on-4. That's not counting the goalies, by the way. Hooking against Andrew Castles, so a delayed power play coming up for Tampa Bay. It's one of these games where the tide of it could turn on a dime. In this northeast road trip for Tampa Bay that they are in right now. Canadian, Eastern Canada, and the northeast part of the United States. Under 7.5. Shots are now 27-21 in favor of Tampa. As the clock continues to descend towards the end of regulation. Hartman having a great game, 75. And Randy Lodeser called for a holding. Tampa Bay will have a power play. Sean Chambers playing a good game. Bergevin playing a good game for the Bolts. And what do we have? We have Jeff Sanderson called for slashing. Under 3 minutes to go. A 5-on-3, which now turns into a 5-on-4 for about a minute. We're under 2 minutes, so we could go another 5 minutes here. Under 60. Crowd here getting anxious in Hartford. But they will go to an overtime period of 5 minutes to see if anybody could score a goal here and win the game. 2-2, we drop the puck for OT. And, of course, in playoff hockey, they play 20 minutes of overtime. Then they take a break, play another 20, and they do this until somebody wins. Of course, Tampa Bay and Columbus last year went 5 overtimes. Looks like we're going to have a game winner here, and looked like the Lightning had a good situation set up. Now Hartford breaking down the ice, and they win the game. Sanderson assisted by... never mind. And Mitra. Nemisnikov. I can't say some of these Russian names. Well, anyway, Hartford wins 3-2. Poulin, Hammerlick, and Mitra were the stars of the game. But the Lightning could not get it done at the XL Center with a crowd of 8,045 on April 10, 1994, and we get closer now to the end of the regular season. McIntyre suspended for the LA Kings. Steve Yzerman has an assist streak of 1 assist per 8 games now. At least 1 assist in 8 games. Benoit Hogue, 3 goals, no assists. as the Islanders beat the Rangers, that other New York team. Teemu Selanne for the Winnipeg Jets had a hat trick, 7-4 over Toronto. LaForge, Mark LaForge of the Jets, got suspended. More's the pity. Lemieux injured with abdominal soreness, but he still got his has a goal streak going, 1 goal a game now for the last 5 games. And Lavoie had his suspension end. He is with the Ottawa Senators. So on to New York. We're playing them at home. The Islanders. This is the next to last game of the season. It's Pat Jablonski, who in real life played with Tampa Bay, against Ron Tugnut. Tugnut 904, Jablonski 888. Pierre Turgeon is the star player right now for the Islanders. 70 points, 20 goals. So off we go at the Thunderdome. Herb Brooks is the man coaching the New York Islanders, and you may know that name from coaching the U.S. Olympic hockey team in 1980 and that great miracle they pulled off in Lake Placid, where they went undefeated. They had one tie through their run, but they beat the Russians and they beat... Now, see, here's the controversy. I can't remember if they beat Sweden or Finland. I think it was Sweden they beat in the gold medal game, but it was the way they did the Olympic hockey tournament back then it was 2 groups of 6, and if you finished first or second in your group, you played the 2 teams in the opposite group, and the game that you played in your group against the team who made the finals counted, and you just had to play the other 2 teams in the other group, kind of a crisscross thing. Well, the first team they played was the Russians, and they beat them 4-3. Famous goal by Mike Eruzione to win that and everybody remembers that, and everybody says, well, that was the game they won the gold medal. And I say, no, they had to beat another team. And if they didn't beat that other team, they were not going to win the gold, and they might not have even medaled. But they did win the gold medal, and it came at a great time for our country because it was just announced that President Carter was not going to have the Americans go to Moscow for the 1980 Olympics. Of course, the Olympics are coming up, the Summer Olympics in Tokyo. If they're able to get that off this year, they could not get it off last year due to COVID. The Lightning are out shooting the Islanders 10-3, holding against Rob Ramage. And if you're a little more curious about the 1980 Olympic hockey team, let me suggest to you the movie Miracle. Kurt Russell played Herb Brooks and did a tremendous job playing him. So we have our first goal here coming up, and it's Hammerlick, assisted by Bergevin and Biro, and it's 1-0 late in the first. Tampa Bay leading on shots, 14-6. But the last game they played, which I am thinking was against Sweden, could be against Finland. I think they needed a couple of goals late to win that, and Bergevin called for the high stick. But everybody remembers that Russian game. And everybody thinks incorrectly that was the gold medal game. It was not. They played the Soviets like at 5 o'clock on Friday night, and the game was tape delayed on ABC until 8, tripping against Kenny Johnson. And I was living in Largo, Florida at the time. Been in this area almost all my life, as I was telling Al on Saturday night. But I did live for a while in Georgia, and I lived a while in North Carolina, and a couple of times I tried Las Vegas. But I was living in Tampa, Florida the night this happened. And our cable system had a bunch of superstations on it, or stations that were trying to become superstations. Like the first one was WCIX in Miami, which is now I think an NBC station in Miami, Channel 6. And then they had TBS, and then they had WGN. And one of the stations they tried to make a superstation out of was KPIX out of San Francisco. Now remember, there's a 3-hour time difference between San Francisco and Tampa Bay. So at 7 o'clock at night, they ran cartoons, like kiddie cartoons. And holding called against Pierre Turgeon for the Islanders. So at 4 o'clock, they're running cartoons Pacific time, which means I'm seeing them 7 o'clock Eastern time. And we're just getting settled in to watch the Olympic game because we thought the game was live and we didn't know who had won. And just to make things a little more lively, they had a host by the name. Now, this is not the actor Pat McCormick, but this was a local San Francisco television personality named Pat McCormick, and he would host the cartoon shows. And well, let's get back to the game here for just a moment, and I'll finish my 1980 Olympic hockey memories. We'll either have the Bolts leading 2-0 or the Islanders equalizing. And the former happens, AstraZeneca again, Hartman and Johnson assisting, and it's 2-0. And very quickly, the Lightning with another scoring chance, and bada boom, bada bing, AstraZeneca again, Ramage and Hartman, 3-0. So not the big, tall, balding actor Pat McCormick, but a local TV personality in San Francisco by the same name who had gray hair, gray little balding hair, and I don't think he's passed on by now. But we're getting ready to watch the game on ABC, and I'm watching the cartoons because the cartoons end at 8, and then they were going to show the hockey game on our TV. It was Channel 10 here in Tampa, which is now a CBS station. I'm a fountain of information, unfortunately. I probably know too much from my childhood, but anyway. They gave the score of the hockey game. Pat McCormick broke in and said, the Americans have won. The Americans won 4-3. And you're like, oh, you just spoiled it for us. So they would play Spider-Man cartoons on at 7 o'clock at night, I think. And they would play in television games. And it was like a situation where if you said a certain word, they would fire the button. And you kill the spaceships. It was like a space. If you ever played Space Battle on a television, Lightning pouring it on. Zomner assisted by Chambers, 4-0 at the start of the third period. We're in the third period, by the way. I'm just too busy telling my story. And the shot total, my goodness, 37-15 right now in favor of Tampa Bay. But that's how I remember. That's how they first broke in. They said, they didn't. Well, the competing stations, KPIX, I think, was an independent station at the time, representing the San Francisco-Oakland area, and that's how I found out the Americans won over the Russians, 4-3. But we watched the game because we wanted to see the crowd reaction. It was a small arena in Lake Placid that they were holding these, very crucial matches for the ice hockey tournament. This is back when they only had a men's tournament. They did not have a women's. There goes the shutout. Sider, assisted by Malikoff and Derek King. So it's now 4-1, 12:43 to go. And you never want to go to sleep with this much time in the game. $39 shots to 22 in favor of the Bolts. Roughing against Marty McInnes. And that's going to give Tampa Bay a power play. So we do things while we play out these games to try to make it interesting, and I thought I would share my 1980 Olympic hockey story, USSR story, and everybody was watching the final game the Americans played. Again, I don't remember. I think it was Sweden, but it might have been Finland. High sticking against Brian Bradley, because the game was on at 11 o'clock, and ABC made the very wise decision to show the game start to finish live. No interruptions, no, let's go to Frank Gifford at the at the skiing event. Or let's go to Keith Jackson, who was doing speed skating. They made a very wise decision. Stick with the game. Don't show anything else unless it's between periods. Because that was the story. That was the story of the end of the 1980 Olympics was, could the men's team pull off the impossible, the seemingly impossible, and win the gold medal, which they did. As Al Michaels famously said, the impossible dream came true. And the Russians still had to play a game for silver that they needed to win, and they did. But it was quite a celebration at the end. The Lightning won, by the way, 4-1. Hartman, AstraZeneca with his 2 goals, and Mark Bureau with his 1 assist did well. Jablonski did not do well. Tugnut, another win for him. I would say he's our number 1 goalie. So now we move on and we play the Quebec Nordiques to end the season. Yzerman's streak ended at 8 games. 8 games with at least 1 assist. Wilson suspended. Ron Wilson of the LA Kings. Laurie Boschman back from suspension. Whoever he is. Well, he plays for Ottawa. He's 33 at this point in his life. And the Petrenko suspension ended. So let's just take a look at the standings real fast before we play this last game out. Of course, the Lightning have no shot at making the playoffs. They'll either have 75, 76, or 77 points. The best team in the NHL right now, the Detroit Red Wings by far, have a feeling you'll be seeing them next week in the Stanley Cup Finals, 129 points, which is also the number of points Yzerman has with Detroit. Brett Hull leading at 70 goals. Craig Janney, 92 assists with St. Louis. My goodness, that's like Wayne Gretzky numbers. Osgood of Detroit, the best goalie. Mike Richter of Florida with the best save percentage, 922, as we headed to this last game. And Osgood, 49 wins out of the 62 wins Detroit has. So I have a feeling we're going to see Detroit in the finals, but how often in the NHL playoffs do you think one thing's going to happen and something else happens? So this is Quebec. This is going to be the last game of the 93-94 season for Tampa Bay. Hextall in goal for Quebec, 887, and Casey, a little cold, but his save percentage a little higher at 904. We'll play the game, drop the puck, and let's go. And we'll show you after this game who made the playoffs. And Quebec quickly on the board in the first minute of the game. It's Joe Sakic. Olin Nolan with the assist. Did hit play, right? No, I didn't? Okay, well, I hit it now. Can the Lightning equalize? Yes, they can. Anderson assisted by Igor Larionov. And we're dead even at a goal each. That didn't take long. Well, anyway. Final game of 93-94. The Lightning very much improved. They had a bad year to start the series that I have been doing in 92-93 because Brian Bradley got hurt most of the season. Was out most of the season. We have a penalty. Adam Foote. That's Quebec, so Tampa Bay will get it going for 2. Shots are now 7-4. Brandon Baker just replying to me right now. I'll check that in just a moment when I'm done with this video. Under 8 minutes, first period, it is 1-1. I'm recording this, by the way, at 4:39 in the p.m. And I have been on now 54 minutes, so I started somewhere around 3:45. Sean Chambers, interference for 2. And that's against Tampa Bay, of course. So, win or lose in this game, we had a good season, a much better season than we did last year. Olin Nolan again. He's hanging around. And another penalty, cross-checking against Mark Bergevin. So, the penalties piling up. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm ordering a pizza while we're doing this. No disrespect to hockey, but I'm feeling a little peckish for Philly cheesesteak pizza. Shots are 14-10, and the goals are 1-1. We head to the second period. So if I order it now, I'm hoping it will not get here until the game ends. Otherwise, it'll just be sitting outside, and it's been raining on and off. So I figure if I hit the button midway through the second period, it won't get here for a minute until I'm done with the stream. Yeah, good luck with that, right? Let's see who scored. It's Quebec. Joe Sakic, assisted by Valerie Kaminsky and Jason Meyer. 2-1 now. Quebec leading. Always leave a nice tip for your drivers, by the way. Always want to leave at least 15%. Otherwise, they might spit in your pizza, which we hope doesn't happen. And if it did, how would I know? Joe Rickey holding the stick. And let's see if I can do... Order has been placed. Okay, good to go. Meanwhile, back to the game, hooking against Mike Rickey. See, I try to do things to make this interesting. And my app is spinning round and round, making me wonder if I did it right. Error, we are unable to complete your quest. Please try again momentarily. Okay. That sometimes happens. Duplicate order? Our records indicate you have already placed an order within the last several minutes. Cancel. Okay. So you got my order. I hope you got my order. Yes, you did. Okay. That's done. Last 2 minutes of the second period, it's 2-1 Quebec, which rhymes with the great game show host Alex Trebek. So a wide open game here, and slashing against AstraZeneca for 2 minutes. We go to the third with Quebec in a power play and a 2-1 lead. Interference, Olin Nolan. $37 shots to 20 in favor of Quebec. Last game of the 93-94 regular season. In case you missed it, we come back next week, and we're going to try to play out the Stanley Cup from Game 1 to when it ends. 3-1 now as Scott Young picks up a goal. Van Imp and Sakic assisting. So I'm keeping an eye on my order and hoping it does not get here before I have completed this video. Right now I'm being told it's 42 to 52 minutes away, which would be perfect. 11 and a half minutes left to go in the third period. A 3-1 Quebec lead. Now we're midway through the third. 64 shots already in this game, so... And Quebec, from what I remember from them in the mid-90s, they were not afraid of shooting. They were kind of like the Loyola Marymount of the early 90s of hockey. A great team that had, fortunately, had Hank Gathers pass away on it, and they had another great player, Bo Kimball. And they had an offense that, they made no dispense with how they played their offense. It was get down the court and fire off a shot. And the Bolts cut it to 3-2. Hartman assisted by Bradley and Johnson with almost 14 minutes gone by in the third period, last period of the 93-94. There was no niceties with Loyola Marymount. Run down the court, hit a three, or if somebody was open under a little closer to the net, then you went for two. And they would rack up all these points in a game. Just go to a certain spot on the court, fire up a three, or if you're open, you go in and you dunk. And tripping against Mike Rickey, and they could score 100 points in a 40-minute basketball game easy. And Paul Westhead was their coach, who coached the 1980 Lakers to a championship. Okay, each team with a man in the penalty box. Last minute of the regular season coming up. Curtis Lecision, a penalty that might give Tampa Bay a chance here. Go to the empty net, guys, if you can. You do. And that's your regular season. 3-2, Quebec wins. And it was Sakic, Johnson, and Meyer with the Stars. Well, not a bad way to end up the regular season. We finished 34, 43, and 7, 75 points. I will take that for a second-year hockey team any chance I can get. Doug Crossman coming back, but the season is over. And I'm going to cue ahead to the Stanley Cup Playoffs. And a whole bunch of players got... We won't go through all... I'll just show it to you here on the screen real fast. They have nominees announced for the various awards you could get in the NHL. But I'm going to, right before we go off, I'm going to show you the brackets for the playoffs, if I can. I might not be able to, and that would be fine too. Maybe if I queue ahead a couple of days, or one day, it'll show me. We'll try that route. Okay, here we go. Here are the playoff brackets for the 93-94 playoffs. We'll go through this, and then I'll get down out of here and have myself some pizza. Buffalo and the Rangers is one game in the Eastern, one pairing in the East. Washington and Pittsburgh. Quebec, Boston. The New Jersey Devils and Montreal. In the West, or whatever they call the division on the left side of the country. Winnipeg, Detroit, Dallas, Vancouver, not the Lakers, the Los Angeles Kings, and St. Louis, Edmonton, and Chicago. So that does it for this edition of the FHM series I have been doing. We're going to try to come back next week and do the Stanley Cup Finals for you. Whether they go 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, or 7 games, we'll try to be here for all of them for you. Godspeed and God bless everybody. Be nice to each other, please. Not enough in that world. Not enough of that going on in the world right now. Take care. We're going to do it all again soon. We have Big Paulie's Fight Night scheduled for tomorrow. If you're seeing this on the 19th and you're wondering what the heck am I going to do on April 20th, that's what I have planned. Good night for now, everybody.